Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. The oil prices has spiked up significantly, and this could potentially set to derail the world economy even more. And there's also a risk of an AI bubble bursting, and there are news coming out such as this. And are they going to crash the stock market? Today, I'll give you my flavor of it. So the headline news today is that Middle East oil prices has gone up pretty significantly, and the AI boom is at high risk right now. And if both were to hit, I think that would be quite a disaster. So the WTI crude oil price has gone up to $103 a barrel. And we haven't seen $100 for some time, and it's gone back to 100. Now, the Brent crude at video recording time is about 114, 115. And all these are very high prices. And the world could potentially see a stagflation because of such oil prices. And we don't know whether this will go up even more. So, on the Middle East side, Donald Trump has directed his officials to prepare for a long term blockade of Iran. Now, this is very important because this also signifies that he has no intention at this juncture of going into all out war with Iran again. Now, this is unfortunately also a slow burn situation. This is a no war, no peace scenario, and this is not something very good because dragging things for a long time will set prices to go up a lot because oil prices are climbing up. And the US is right now preparing for a long term blockade, and this is certainly not a good option. So, Donald Trump has directed his officials to prepare for a long term blockade of Iran. And this is what I call a slow burn scenario. So, this is a no war, no peace. And this is unfortunately going to set the oil prices to go up gradually. Now, the thing about going up gradually is what I call a boy frog scenario. So, boy frog scenario means that, people just get slowly accustomed to it. Now, these are times where stock market might just get used to a gradually growing oil prices. May not be bad, may not be good, hard to say, but certainly this is not a disastrous outcome like an all-out war. Unfortunately, it's not so good scenario where things get resolved. So certainly right now, all-out war is not envisaged. So this is a unfortunate, no, not good, not bad scenario. So the question really is, this is a game of chicken, who will blink first? So the US right now demands nuclear surrendering. They want Iran to surrender all their nuclear and want the Straits of Hormuz to open up. And right now they look at their offer, they say throw in the dustbin. The Iranians, okay, wants, of course, all hostilities to stop in phase one, phase two, Straits of Hormuz also to be unblocked. Then they can talk about nuclear. Unfortunately, the Americans doesn't like this. But to be frank, both sides are suffering. The Americans is most afraid of inflation because inflation will set the American voters to be very upset, and they will blame the Republicans and Donald Trump for it, and they will vote for Democrat in the midterm elections. And if inflation doesn't need to wait until November, inflation is already here. On the side of the Iranians, they are suffering economically right now because of the loss of oil revenues, and this is certainly something quite serious. And besides, all their shipments cannot come in because of the US blockade, so they run out of some, running low on some of these daily necessities and so on. So I think the truth is both sides want a deal, but who will capitulate first? Who will give in first? Talking about the Iranian oil revenues coming to a stop, the Iranian oil system is near a collapse. Right now, there are news that says that their oil capacity has right now hit near maximum. Well, just to take note, if you are in a oil production business, especially your economy, your oil needs to keep on pumping and releasing. Well, unfortunately, because of the blockade, they are pumping, but they are not releasing out to the world because of the blockade. So as a result, their storage capacity is hitting maximum. So Iranian Kap Island is right now the main oil export terminal. The storage capacity is hitting the maximum already. So this is quite serious. And by the way, that is also true for some of the Middle Eastern countries as well. Oil production is not something you just say, okay, turn off, then turn on. In fact, I understand that there is a lot of damage to the system if you were to turn off, and turning on is a very costly and painful process. So right now, Iran stands to lose $100 million of revenue, and this is a serious situation for Iran. Goods are spiking up in prices. They are facing inflation and shortage of goods as well. So right now, the Iranian economy is facing severe situation. And by the way, so is the Americans as well in terms of inflation. So Donald Trump has came out and said that Iran has told him that it is in a state of collapse amidst all this peace talk stalemate. Now, this one we got to double check whether it is true or not. Nobody will know because this is Donald Trump, who is famous for haoxiaology. So he says that Iran has told me it's a state of collapse and he wants the US open the Straits of Hormuz as soon as possible while they try to figure out their leadership situation. Signed, Donald Trump. Well, my take is that, whether you can believe him or not is another thing. Well, I'll wait for the Iranian to respond to this statement. Well, so much about oil. Actually, AI side also have some issues. So the world has broke out in the new news on AI, and this is going to be quite serious as well because all of them might have a pressure on the world economy and the stock market. So the bigger risk is actually AI because AI is driving the world stock prices going higher and higher and higher. And despite the oil crisis in Middle East, so right now there is a news that says that OpenAI sales have not met their targets, and as a result, US stocks are falling. So this is actually, in my opinion, the bigger risk than the oil crisis. So Wall Street Journal actually reported that OpenAI, which is ChatGPT's company, has missed critical internal revenues and user growth targets. And this could trigger what I call a confidence crisis in the AI infrastructure development. Now, just to take note, if OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, grows rapidly, then you will need a lot of server, a lot of data center, a lot of chips, a lot of semiconductors, and so on. So the AI boom is driving a lot of infrastructure boom as well as semiconductor boom. Well, because OpenAI missed their targets, in one day, AMD, Broadcom, Oracle, all these start being hit quite badly in their stock prices. So if the industry leader is hit, then the entire capex could be at risk. Now, how this come about is because the CFO of OpenAI warned that the company may struggle to meet public reporting standards. And this is a big issue because it seems to be misaligned with the founder and CEO, which is Sam Altman. Now, this is something that is quite serious because they expect there to be 1 billion weekly active user for ChatGPT by last year, by end of last year. And that never happened. And their revenue projection also missed. So right now, this is a serious problem. Now, just to say this, if OpenAI with ChatGPT miss their targets, then maybe they have not enough money to pay for all the infrastructure that they have committed to build, which is $300 billion in Oracle, $600 billion in many computing power, and a lot of capex that they promised to. So this is something quite serious. Now, just to be clear, if you take a step back, who says that ChatGPT is the industry standard? Right now, I hardly use ChatGPT now. I only use Claude, which is a far more superior AI than ChatGPT. Occasionally, I use OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, to talk to Claude because Claude is a bit sophisticated. Maybe Uncle Me takes a long time to learn. So I ask ChatGPT to learn basic things to teach me how to use a more sophisticated thing. Otherwise, I hardly use ChatGPT now. And I'm not the only one. The whole industry is going and migrating into agentic AI already, which is essentially Anthropic. There is Claude. Now, Gemini is also very good, run by Google, and Gemini has a lot more free usage. So OpenAI is no longer the market leader in terms of the level of innovation and so on. So I think that right now the world is having a migration towards more sophisticated and more useful AI. And this will set OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, in trouble. So frankly speaking, it is not AI that's coming down, but it's just shifting around. And I think that's okay. So I will just say this, for those people who are global index funds investors like myself, chill. I don't think that this is an issue in the mid to long run, because this is basically a company missing his target because of competition. So the rest of the industry is growing. It's just not that company growing. So I think that it's just substitution and it doesn't reflect an industry slowing down. So I think that this is actually okay. Well, things could happen still in future, but at least what I can see right now, the AI boom is still happening. It's just not ChatGPT that's leading it by a lot. So the final verdict is this: just competition and rotation. It's not collapsing. So I wouldn't be too worried about this one. Of course, the market will react sensationally to some of this news, but I don't think it's worth a worry. But I think the oil prices is probably more worrying because it's just going up and up and up. In conclusion, this is not a industry collapsing, but it's just competition and rotation of the winners. So I won't be too worried about this AI issue, but I'm more worried about the oil price issue, because at some point in time, if the oil prices keep going higher and higher and higher, it will bite. Okay, it has to bite the economy, and therefore by association, it has to bite the stock market as well. We don't know whether this would happen in a catastrophic outcome, because they might just suddenly come to an agreement and all will be peace from there. So things are policy driven, things are negotiation driven. So don't miss any of this. Remember, hit subscribe as I bring to you more in my live stream. Bye bye.